Understand so far?
Yeah.
So supply and demand is really important for the concept of economics because it fundamentally all goes back to this, right? Now, can we artificially create low amounts of, okay. Okay, can we artificially create demand? Anyone? Can we artificially create demand? Can you make someone want something more?
Yeah.
How?
Advertising.
Not quite.
Make it more
So
valuable.
advertising does work, but it's not quite artificially creating demand.
Putting
Nature cultivation.
Yes, those are all factored in. What else?
Fake reviews.
Fake trash?
Fake reviews.
Fake reviews. All right. So one way you can do it is called scarcity. This might not be spelled right. Scarcity. It essentially is. Yes, it might not be spelled right. Yeah, which is the right. All right. So scarcity.
How much that is scared?
No, not scared.
Oh.
Scarcity can be done like this. So you guys know Supreme, the brand Supreme.
Yeah.
Okay, how do they launch their products?
Like 19
Like it's a limited time offer, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you don't buy it, it's gone forever, something like this, right? And so you artificially create scarcity by making this product like impossible to get later on. So if you don't buy it now, you don't get it. Does that make sense? This usually is used with e-commerce because why? FOMO, fear of missing out. If you guys don't buy it now, you don't get it, right? So clothing brands, luxury brands all use this particular type of model where they use scarcity for you to buy it. Now, it's not necessarily that the particular market requires a lot of this product. Like, if you don't buy the limited edition Louis Vuitton bag, right, it doesn't change the demand for handbags in the market, right? There's always going to be someone who's going to fill that gap. But this particular thing is scarce, it's rare, limited, right? So this adds more demand. Now, can we artificially change supply? What do you guys think? How can we artificially change supply?
Chinese pop.
So you can flood the market with products, cheap products, which will do what? All right. So let's get a little bit more technical for you guys. Okay. So what would happen if you have a market equilibrium, the amount of firms and the amount of products going in are equal to the demand? What would happen if a Chinese consumer or Chinese producer came into the market and just dropped a ton of cheap products in the same thing, like fake Louis Vuitton bags? What would happen? So if they're normally $100, right? And then they came in and then they dropped in, I don't know, $5 bags. What would happen? Not a shortage, it's a surplus. And the surplus is indicating what? So this happens in business, okay? You have someone who can make it cheaper and they'll sell it and they can still make a profit. Maybe the profit is only like 2 cents per bag. Maybe, right? Now what about all the other companies that were selling at $100 per bag? Yeah.
When the price is low, there's going to be excess demand, so the supply going to be anyway shortage.
Shortage is when there's not enough supply. I'm saying you're dropping in thousands and thousands of more product onto the market that doesn't need it. So what that does is it adds too much product to the market and you have a surplus of it, dropping the price drastically because no one wants to buy it. So if this was the supply, right? There's no money to be made at this price, right? Because demand is there for that price. Meaning that the amount of product being produced is causing a surplus, which will drop the price here. Does that make sense? Yeah. So when they do this, what's the point of it?
Who will buy the $100 bag?
We are artificially taking the supply, okay, and we are increasing it. Okay? Now, nobody can make money at this particular price point. So why do companies do it? You don't want to be making 2 cents per bag. That's ridiculous. It's impossible to operate at that expense or that price. So why do companies do it? Anybody?
Like to make more money.
It's not make more money because no one's making money at this profit, right?
Because we can sell for like $100, so we'll make like $99.
So this is what's currently sold in the market.
Yeah.
So let's say iPhone,
Yeah.
okay? Whatever the price is for an iPhone. Let's say that's the price. And then China comes in and drops off a ton of look-alike Apple products into the market that look similar to the iPhone brand at significantly less. What happens to the supply and demand of iPhones?
We're gonna like no one will gonna buy it.
You wouldn't want to pay a lot for the same product that you're getting. If it looks exactly like Apple, it uses the same functionality and everything.
Everyone will buy that.
Yes, right? And so the people who are not selling or getting that low cost to produce, right? They're gonna go bankrupt, right? You guys understand? And so because they go bankrupt, what happens? Who's left in the market?
Apple.
No. Apple goes out of business. Yes, the Chinese producer that can reduce it for less. Okay? And then when it stabilizes, right? What can they do now?
They increase it.
Increase the price. Why? All the competitors went bankrupt. Does that make sense?
So like in the end, people buy like the fake phones for higher price.
Yes. Does that make sense? You guys can also look at this from the perspective of a fruit market, right? Let's say that you have 2 fruit stands right next to each other. One is selling watermelon for, I don't know, 20,000 won. It's a fair price, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what would happen if one person comes over and sells watermelon for 10,000 won?
Competition.
What happens?
Everyone will
More money
to
for
buy
Russia.
more.
Right. And so this person is making a lot of money. This person can't sell anything. So what do?
They go low price.
They have to lower their price. So they lower it to 10,000. Okay? In order to start selling their product because the market seems to want it at this price. And then what happens?
And
This person buys all of this person's watermelon and then starts selling it at 30. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So supply and demand matters in this capacity because we can take a look at how much the market will desire it. Now, can we hold this long term? Can we lower our price to 10,000 won long term? No. You can't, not long term. Okay? Because it's out of equilibrium for long term means you're losing money. Right? You're giving all of the value to the customers. So what you have to do in long term, you have to find equilibrium. And the market will find equilibrium over the overall market. Does that make sense? And this is many firms, not just 1 or 2. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay. Alright, so now that we've talked about supply and demand quite thoroughly and we talked about market equilibrium, I want to focus more on market equilibrium and what that means. does equilibrium mean, guys?
It's ideal point where the where the demand and supply meets.
That's correct. What does that mean exactly? What's it mean? It's an ideal point, yes. But let's talk about it in real terms. What does that mean? Okay, how many people are here? 4, 7, 20 people. Okay, yes, question? You can, if you want to.
Qualitatively and productively efficient.
Yes, that's exactly correct. To more layman terms, let's go ahead and explain it. There's 20 people here, and you each have 2 feet. I'm assuming. I see 2 feet on each of you. Okay, how many shoes do we need? How many shoes?
40.
40 shoes. Okay. So, as a producer, right, should I produce 35 shoes? Sorry, no, that's wrong. 50 shoes? 50 pairs of shoes? Or 50 shoes itself? What do you think? Well, why? Why shouldn't I produce 50? Because why?
People will buy more than
Yeah, because there's only demand for what?
40.
For 40. Correct?
Yeah.
By that I mean this. Right? And so when we have this, to produce that much we need a higher price. So let's say it's $15 for shoes, and here it's $10. But because demand doesn't make sense on this, right? What do we have to do? We have to drop the price. Why? There is a surplus of product on the market. Right? The only way we would start producing 50 is if all of a sudden there's more people in the market. This would be demand shift. That would be new students coming in. Does that make sense? More population in this area. Higher demand because everybody needs shoes. Good? Everybody understand?
Yes.
Alright, so market equilibrium is essentially where supply and demand meet, where it's most efficient, right? But they can always change. Supply will always change, demand will always change, right? What are some events that might cause a supply or demand change? Anybody? Let's look at, think about some news articles or something like that. Close it. Sorry? Walk? Did you say war? Yeah, war. But what changes in supply and demand for war?
Government focuses their production on military,
Like what?
like tanks or food.
Okay, how do you make those?
Factories, capital,
With what?
labor,
No, with what? What are those things made of?
steel.
Steel? What's steel made of? So this is the thing that we want to look at, right? If war comes onto the horizon, what do you think you should invest in? I guess like, what's a good investment you guys think? Doesn't matter what company it is, because we're talking about the macroeconomic aspect of this. But what do you think is a good investment for war?
Metal.
Metal. Like copper?
Yeah.
Like aluminum foil?
No.
No, what? Should we invest in mining companies?